And now I can't. I'm so beaten down and defeated by life. That drive that I once had, that's gone now. You know, I try, and I always keep trying. But it's like, I'm at the point now where it's like, why do I even bother? Like, for what? You know? I'm still in the same house, same situation, same position. Still, everything's still the same. For the most part, it's just been me against the world. It's just been me fighting an uphill battle with a big rock on my back, you know, while I'm seeing that don't deserve half of anything. They're getting a free ride to the top. The whole premise of the Terminator movies is that, you know, everything's rigged against you. There's no hope for humanity. You know, we're on the brink of extinction. You know, these machines are unstoppable, killing machines that can't be beaten, can't be outsmarted. But yet, humanity still tries to fight to the end. And I know it's a movie, but you know, I like to think sometimes, you know, I'm a Terminator or something. And despite you know, reaching almost total system failure, he keeps trying to accomplish his mission, you know.
Now these guys, I agree, are potentially ticking time bombs, ready to go off, and they believe that they're justified in it.
So the police are still trying to piece together the timeline of events to get a full understanding of it, but we understand that from 6 o'clock last night, the shooting began on Biddick Drive, which is a quiet residential cul-de-sac in Keam area. The police have cordoned off quite a large area here, because we understand that it's not just in this particular street where activities took place. There's lots of people in our community here who are looking for an explanation, looking for anything to try and explain how such horrific events can happen on our streets. Keam is normally a safe part of our city. It's a strong knit community where you know your neighbours and you look out for one another, and to hear the news that there is a shooting taking place in our community is awful, but to then hear from local residents and the police that has resulted in deaths, and we understand that 5 people have been killed and the shooter is now dead as well, is just utterly devastating today. But this is an awful tragedy, probably the darkest day in Plymouth's history since the end of the Second World War in terms of the number of casualties all at the same time. It really is horrendous here. In the immediate aftermath, I spoke with an awful lot of local residents in the area who are very concerned about what was happening to try and get a sense of it. The police are still trying to piece together all the details about what's happened and what happened to the shooter beforehand. But we understand that the number of people died is 5 that were shot. We're trying to understand exactly what happened to the shooter at the end of this incident. But I'm expecting, I'm afraid, particularly grim news about one of the victims. And I think for a lot of people, the idea of a shooting is horrendous enough, but potentially the shooting involving children is something that is that's really bad. I think the overwhelming emotion here is shock and then devastation as to the news. For lots of local residents that were immediately in the area, opening the door to see something horrendous happening literally in front of them in their community is especially painful, and it will take a lot for that community to be able to process and understand and heal together. I'm really glad that our local primary school at Ford Primary School and the local churches in the area have agreed to open. They'll be opening from 9 a.m. today to provide a space for the community to come together.
Men have isolated themselves from this issue. There are got to be hundreds of thousands, if not a couple million guys that are dealing emotionally what we're dealing with, but they are not getting out there. This is like being kept like a top secret, like the secret of the atom bomb before it was sold to Russia or whatever.
And there are a lot of issues, implications, lives have been lost, people have been murdered. This is absolutely tragic and devastating. And for the entire community right now, this will be deeply shocking. So obviously that's where the focus is. There will be a range of questions that will inevitably be asked, and I'll be doing exactly the same through the conversations and the discussions that I'll be having with the Chief Constable.
it seems pretty clear that this man had links to the online subculture Incel. Do you think that you and the police forces that you are in charge of are doing enough to combat online extremism?
Alec Manassian wasn't part of a terrorist group, but it may not be as simple as suggesting he was a lone wolf.
Am I only a God nearby, declares the Lord, and not a God far away? Who can hide in secret places so that I cannot see them, declares the Lord? Do not I fill heaven and earth, declares the Lord?